Hi, we're the Ramones. And I'm RnRHS, and I directed Rock and Roll High School. And I'm RnRHS, and I directed Rock and Roll High School. And Josh Olson wants me to do yet another intro to Rock and Roll High School. You know how many of these I've done? I've done like 20 of them, so not above using a little stock footage. I mean, how many helicopter explosions have I done? I'm gonna let you guys watch this. Back in 1978. But then I started thinking, what can I tell you guys that you don't already know? I mean, you're going to be sitting there watching the movie on your little computer screens in mono. And I thought, I got to come up with something new, something I remembered that happened. And then I thought, well, I'll tell you guys the true story. The true story of how the first draft of Rock and Roll High School got written. See, Roger said to me and Joe, Alan, you can make your high school movie, but you got to come up with like an outline or something so that we don't have to pay a writer for the first draft. So Joe and I go over to Cathay de Grande and we sit down at the bar and we're having a couple of grasshoppers, and there's this raucous bunch. The Cathay de Grande is right near the editing room, Jack Raven's editing room, and it's also was near the Gower Gulch and Paramount, so it's always full of, Hollywood types. And this drunk guy comes up to the bar, and he's more than drunk. I mean, he's fucked up, and we're staring at him like, who is that? Nice land, huh? Isn't that beautiful? I'm up here in Oregon. Roger Corman uses that thing where he says that he's cheap. He's not cheap. It's all an act. It's part of his, thing, his legend. Because I'll tell you, I finished Rock and Roll High School in the spring of '79. By Christmas, I was getting a check every single month. 41 years of checks from Roger Corman. How about that, How do you think I bought this land? I mean, I get money on Hollywood Boulevard, and I got paid only $85 for making it. So anyway, Joe and I are at the bar, and we're talking to this guy, and Joe says, I may be crazy, but that's Patty Chayefsky. Really? And I said, are you Patty Chayefsky? And he goes, am I? And then he's so fucked up, he starts doing the speech, where open up the windows, the one from Network, and shout, I'm not going to take it no more. And he keeps gesturing to someone who's not there, like Jimmy Stewart talking to Harvey, the rabbit. And we say, Mr. Chayefsky, and meanwhile, we're checking to see the tape recorder's rolling. And I says, what are you doing here? And he says, well, I'm working on my new book. It's called Altered States. It's about what happens to you when you're under influence of drugs. And so I decided before I read the draft again that I would alter my state. And me and my friend, the shaman, there's nobody there, have taken a fistful of peyote. And he says, what are you doing? I says, well, we're here throwing around ideas. Point to the tape machine for a high school movie. He goes, high school movie? I always wanted to write a high school movie. I go, really? The guy who did Hospital wants to do a high school movie. What would you do if you could do anything, Mr. Chayefsky? And he says, I do it with nude gymnastics. I have an all-girls nude gymnastics team in the gym. Imagine them tumbling and doing splits in the air, all naked and in slow motion. Now, I look at Joe, give Joe the side eye, like, it's a pretty good idea. What happens next? And he says, well, they want to enter the championship, and other schools object, and they said you can't do nude gymnastics, and they say it's free expression, and they go out on strike. And who shows up at the high school but their favorite disco group, Casey and the Sunshine Boys? So he says, then they won't let any of the parents in the school, and as Casey and the Sunshine Boy play Get Down Tonight, they blow up the high school. Well, that's not a bad idea. I says, well, can we get your number? So we get his number and his agent's number. Says, we'll talk to you. And nice meeting you, shaman over here. So we immediately type this up. And the next day we bring it up to Roger and we read it to him aloud. And he goes, that's pretty good. You guys wrote this? He says, no, that's the beautiful part, Roger. Patty Chayefsky wrote it, and we're going to put his name on the poster. We'll make a fortune. And he goes, that's a great idea. I mean, network is a hit and blah, 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 and Americanization of Emily. And so get permission from his agent. So we go in Francis Dole's office and we call up the agent, and the agent goes crazy. Says, you mean you taped him when he was taking drugs and et cetera, et cetera? He says, you guys are never going to get that rights to that. We're never going to let you put his name on it. I mean, what good would it do him? I said, wait a minute. What good will it do him? What about Ben Hecht? Ben Hecht was drunk at a party and he spit out the script that became Queen of Outer Space. That didn't hurt Ben Hecht any. It certainly helped Zsa Zsa Gabor get her Academy Award. And the guy hangs up on us. So we tell Roger, and Roger says, you know, fighting this in court's not worth it, and the guy probably wants gross points. And I start thinking about it, giving Patty Chayefsky gross points. Why would I give away all this? So anyway, Josh and the guys, that's how the first draft of Rock and Roll High School got written. I know it sounds a little unbelievable, but you know, sometimes life is like that. So anyway, to sort of pad this out, I was going to play a Grateful Dead version of Dark Star. There's 34 minutes, but let's just go back to one of my intros. Before we start the movie, there's a little thing Joey wants to do with us. You ready? Hey, ho, let's go. Hey, ho, let's go. Hey, ho, let's go. Enjoy the movie, everybody. Hey, ho. Enjoy the movie, everybody.